Okay, I was stuck with the previous class. Thanks for waiting. What did we discuss in the last class? Which topic we discussed in the last class?
Dependencies.
Dependencies.
pom.xml files.
Pom.xml file. So you know what is dependency, and also you know how to write a basic pom.xml file. Pom.xml file, right? Today, let's see how we can build the bar file. Okay. In our previous project, we built only a jar file, right? Let me show that to you. So go to some directory. That's how we built the project. We first clone it. Git clone. Our project was Flipkart. Git. Flipkart. So here in our pom.xml file, we have configured the package as jar file. So we are getting jar. Okay. But mostly we work on, mostly in the time, we create var files. Sometimes we create jar files also. Let me explain when you create a jar file, when you create a var file. So for example, this is your, assume that you are working for a project called VLC Media Player. What's it? VLC Media Player. Some project. It's not a web application. VLC Media Player is not a web application, right? That means what? You have to install the code. You have to install VLC Media Player. For this kind of standalone application, we call it as standalone application or desktop application. Standalone application. It's not a web application. We call it as standalone application. Means, see, this is your VLC Media Player website. How do you install VLC Media Player? VLC. You download your exe. This is your laptop, correct? You download this exe, VLC .exe. You download this and then you extract it, correct? You download and then extract it. So this exe is like a zip file. VLC.exe. This exe is like a zip file. Okay, it's like a zip file. What is there inside this exe? Inside the exe, there will be code. Okay, VLC Media Player software code. So the moment you download exe and then install it, you are installing this, you are extracting this exe file. It's like a zip file. And then you are extracting the code. And then there'll be some shortcut. You just click on the shortcut. Code is sitting in your laptop, right? Code is locally installed. So the code will be executed and then you see VLC Media Player on the screen. That's how it is working. So you are installing the application code, right? That means the code is sitting in your laptop. Code is executed locally, and then you see the VLC Media Player up and running. So this is called a standalone application. You are not, using internet to access VLC Media Player. Are you using internet here? No, right? Code is sitting in your laptop. In these kind of cases, we use only the jar files. We create only the jar file. We don't create var file. So you take VLC Media Player code, right? We build VLC Media Player code. We will build VLC Media Player code, and then we create, assume that there are a lot of Java files. Okay, it's a lot of Java files, and then you compile all these Java files, and then create multiple jar files. Multiple jar files, or a single jar file, or multiple jar file, whatever. We don't create a var file. And then, say you're working as a DevOps engineer, you're working in this company, VLC Media Player, as a DevOps engineer. So what do? You download the code, you just run Maven install command. Maven install command compiles R.java files, and then it creates multiple jar files. And then once jar files are created, you give these jar files to a team called installer team. Installer team. There will be a separate team, okay? So they take all these jar files and then they create exe and then they upload the exe to website. What is there inside this exe? Built code, executable code. This code is inside the VX. So as a DevOps engineer, you will build the application. You create multiple jar files. You give all this built code. Give this built code to this team called installer team, and then this team will get. They know how to get the exes, exe, MSI, or any other installer. So they places the code inside the exe, then they upload the exe to the website, and then user downloads the exe, extracts the code locally, and then they use the application. So we are not using internet to access the application. We call this as standalone application. Standalone application. So if you are building standalone applications, you will be building only the jar files. You will not be building var files. If you are working for web applications, we build var file. For web applications, what we do? We build var file. Say for example, it's a Flipkart. Okay. Flipkart is a web application, correct? Flipkart. You have a lot of code, right? You have a lot of code. You don't clone the code. We build the code using Maven install command. And then we'll create class files, we'll create multiple jar files, blah, blah, blah. Finally, we'll create a var file. For web applications, we create var file, web archive. And then we deploy the code into some server, correct? What's the server name? Tomcat server. What is the server? Tomcat server. And then people access the application. How this user is accessing the application? How user is accessing Flipkart application? Using internet, correct? That means this is your client. That means browser. In browser client, you type the URL using internet. It will go to this particular server called flipkart.com. And then code is sitting remotely, right? Server executes the code and then sends a response back to the user. This is happening over the web using internet, right? You are accessing the application. Is user has the code of Flipkart? No, right? Do you have Flipkart code? No. Code is sitting somewhere remotely, and then you are accessing the code from the client. So this is called a web application. You're accessing the application using web. And whereas in this case, it's called a standalone application because we have the code locally. So code is executed locally, and then you see the application. Here, code is executed remotely, and then you are accessing the application. So web application, standalone application. For web applications, we create the var file. Understand that? Any questions you have about that? Okay, let's see how you build the var files. Let's build a var file now. Okay. So for this, I have a project called iFlipkart. So far, whatever we have done, this Flipkart, right? This is a standalone application, right? So we are building only the jar file there. Think, Flipkart as some standalone application, okay? It's not the real Flipkart that we use here. So for building the var file, I have another project called iFlipkart. What's that project name? Git clone this is iFlipkart. Okay. If you want to practice var file example, this is the web application build and deployment. How do you build and deploy a web application? Perform end-to-end build and deployment for iFlipkart web application. Okay. If you don't have Git, install Git. So this is the project URL, iFlipkart. It's not a Flipkart, remember that? If you want to practice the var file, you have to use this project, iFlipkart, not Flipkart. Because in Flipkart, we're doing only the jar file. We're getting only jar file. Okay. Right. iFlipkart. So if you are working for web applications, this is how you build and deploy. iFlipkart. Okay. Now you see this cat XML. Here we are creating var file. Okay. MVN install. I am building the application. MVN install. What will happen when you execute MVN install command? It will compile the main code. It will compile the testing code. It will generate the reports. It will create the package, right? jar or var file, and it will copy that to .m2, right? Java hyphen version. See this? For building our Flipkart application, we need JDK 11, okay? JDK 11. So for some reason, because I use different JDKs for different batches, I mean, for teaching other tools. So I ended up having 17, but we need 11, right? So I'll uninstall and install 11. apt get I remove usually with different things. Okay, so usually I remove JDK with a different command. I want to check. apt get remove, apt get install, apt get remove, right? Sudo apt get remove, open JDK hyphen 17 star. Open JDK hyphen 17 hyphen JDK. Star means can be anything. It'll remove all the packets. Let's see what it will do. Let me install JDK 11. Open JDK hyphen 11 hyphen JDK. Okay. Okay. So how do you build this project? First, clone it. Okay. I Flipkart. So this is the var file. Okay. This project is configured for var file. You may install ls target. See the var file. Simple. Okay. So as a DevOps engineer, we type yaml install. Depending on the configuration, it will create jar or var file. So once the var file is created, what do we do? We have to deploy it into Tomcat server, correct? So usually we deploy the var file in a dedicated Tomcat server. This is mission 1. You have the code in mission 2, Git server. This is your build mission. What do you call this? Build server. We call it the build server. Wherever you are doing the build, we call it the build server. Okay. So what we're doing in build server? What is the end goal here? We take the code and then end goal is to create the var file, correct? Or jar file. Since it is a web application, I create var file. And then we deploy that var file to a separate mission. Okay. So this is mission 4, say for example. So usually we deploy the var file in a separate Tomcat server. And this is where your application is running. People access application from this machine. Okay. So before I deploy, the code in a separate a Tomcat server, I want you to deploy it locally first and then access the application. Okay. Means we deploy the warframe in a separate Tomcat server, right? We will practice this also later. We'll practice this later. For now, install Tomcat in the same mission locally. Tomcat server. And then we'll deploy the warfare here. This one. Deployment means copying the warfare into Tomcat server, correct? And then we'll access it locally. So once you practice this, then I'll show this also. So I'm showing you Tomcat installation now. Okay. So where is the warfare? Warfare is already built. Now we need a Tomcat server, right? So in the same mission, I'll install Tomcat here. Okay. You can install anywhere. I'll go to distros. Okay, so I'm teaching you installation of Tomcat. Just go here and then say download Tomcat. Okay. Download Tomcat. Click on this first link. Go to core. You see a third is it? Right click. Copy link. wget. That's how you download it. Okay. Use wget command for downloading, right? So this is your Tomcat server. Extract it. How do you extract the tar file? tar-xvf Apache Tomcat. This is your Tomcat. Okay. Go to Apache Tomcat. So this is the Tomcat installation. Understand this? Very simple, right? Download tar.gz and then extract it. Simple. So this is your Tomcat server installation. So once you install Tomcat, you will get a folder called web apps here. That is where you have to copy your war file. Where do we copy the war file? Under web. We copy war file under web apps directory. Okay. Go to web apps. That's called the deployment. So deployment means what? We copy the war file into Tomcat server, right? So where do you copy war file? Under web apps. Tomcat by default executes the war file from this directory only, web apps. It has to be in web apps. Okay. If you are deploying the war file on a dedicated Tomcat server, what do? Take a separate mission, install Tomcat here. There will be a directory called web apps, and then copy the war file there. Okay, that's what we'll do. Right. So we'll show this to you later. Okay, let's deploy the war file into Tomcat server. Shall I copy this war file now? Copy. Okay. Flipkart.var to where? Slash home.
Apps.
Yeah. Slash home. Parallels. Distros. Apache Tomcat. That's extracted folder, right? Web apps. Deployment is done. See under web apps. So once the deployment is done, you have to start Tomcat server. Remember that. So we have deployed the war file. After deploying the war file, we have to start the server. And server startup and then shutdown commands are here. Bin direct. Go to bin. So if you want to start Tomcat server, startup.sh. Okay. If you want to shut down Tomcat server, shutdown.sh. Startup.sh, shutdown.sh. So this is how you start your Tomcat server. This is a shell script, okay? If you want to execute any shell script, we use // before that. / and then file name. Startup.sh. That's how you start Tomcat server. It says Tomcat server has started. Clear about the Tomcat installation? Download the register, extract it, and you can deploy the warfare in web apps, and then start the server using startup.sh. If you want to shut it down, shutdown.sh. If you want to again start it, startup.sh. Remember, Tomcat is also developed in Java, and to run Tomcat, you need to have JDK installed in our machine. Without Java or JDK, you cannot execute Tomcat. Java is already, JDK is already installed in my machine, so it is working fine. So once you deploy the war file, now you can access the application from the browser, right? Open the browser. This is the URL we use, okay? Localhost. Wherever you have installed Tomcat, where Tomcat is running in the same machine, correct? In my machine. So that's the reason I'm giving localhost. Or you can give IP address wherever Tomcat is running. Tomcat is running in the same machine. So I said localhost. I'm connected to Tomcat now. See, this is the browser, right? Browser is talking to the server. So I'm giving IP of a machine where the server is running. So browser will talk to the server. So I'm giving server URL here. So I'm telling client browser, go to localhost. That means in the same machine. And Tomcat server runs by default at 8080 port. Tomcat server by default runs at 8080 port. More about that later. Okay. You have to give IP address, port number, and then your war file name. See, you got the response. Hello world. Clear? Hello world. How is this working? This is browser, right? It's a client server architecture, right? Client sends a request to the server executes the code and then sends response back to it. So see this, the moment you give 8080, see browser is connecting to the server. Tomcat server is responding. That means, okay, you are able to hit Tomcat server. That means, assume like this, you are coming here. You are able to hit Tomcat server. Tomcat server is running, right? And then I'm asking Tomcat server to execute a war file called Flipkart. Where is this war file? Go to web apps. See, this is the war file we deployed. Remember, after deployment, once you start Tomcat server, this war file will be automatically extracted. Okay. So I'm telling Tomcat server. So go to hello. I'm hitting Tomcat server, right? And then asking Tomcat server to execute that war file. So it comes here. Okay. That means it is executing the war file. This war file is again nothing but a zip file, right? So that is extracted. It comes here and it executes the code. What is the code here? See, there is something called hello world. So what's happening? Browser is connecting to the server, right? Server has the code, right? Server is executing the code, and then it sends response back to the browser, and you say hello world. So when server sends HTML code as a response to the browser, and then it is executing it. Understand how web application works? Okay, it's just that simple. So blindly just clone, build the project using a min install. You get the war file, deploy the war file into Tomcat server, and then you can execute it. But remember, you have to or you can access this application only from Linux machine browser only. So this is where we have Tomcat, right? Correct. You can give the local host or you can give the IP address, correct? What's the IP address of this machine? 192.168.0.111. 192.168.0.111 : 8080, correct? And then hit this. So you can give the local host or IP address of machine where Tomcat server is running. Anything is fine. So this particular IP address is not public. This IP is not public. That means if you type this URL in your machine now, it will not work because this IP is not exposed to the outside world. So that is the reason you have to access the application only from your Linux machine's browser only, because server is running here and then I'm accessing it from the same machine's browser. If you access that from the Windows browser, it will not work because Windows is a different machine, this is a different machine. So I'll explain about, say making that public IP later in Kubernetes class, we will do that. For now, access it from the Linux machine browser only. Clear? So what you have to do, you clone this iFlipkart. Remember iFlipkart, remember. Build the project, check the WAR file in the target directory, download Tomcat and install it. Make sure that JDK is also there. Download Tomcat, extract your code directory, make sure that Java is installed in the machine. And then deploy your WAR file. Copy WAR file to Tomcat home means what? Wherever you have installed your Tomcat installation directory. Web apps, copy WAR file there, then deploy there. Go to Tomcat installation bin, start Tomcat server, and then you can access application using this URL. I'll explain more about this URL later. Clear with building web application and then deploying it? Any questions here? Okay. Similarly, I'll build another application called Gamut Cart. This is the main project we have. Gamut Cart. Here some code. Okay. It's also a web application. So we first clone it. We build it using Maven install. So we get gamut cart dot var file, and then let's deploy that in separate. Let's deploy that in Tomcat server here, var file. This is your build server. Any web application, this is how you work. Okay, so it's the same thing. So I'm going to remove this previous deployments. Okay, Flipkart and then var file both. Deployment is not there now. And then I'll shut down Tomcat server. So my Tomcat server is clean now. There is nothing deployed. Let me explain. Let me build another project called Gamut Cart. Okay. See this git clone. What is this project URL? Remember this. It is there in the notes. Okay. This project URL is gamut cart 2.git. It is there in the notes. Gamut cart 2. Now see here. Go to Gamut cut. See this project code. See the code. If you clone a real-time project, you see application code something like this. Why you see a lot of other files there? Developers write the code, correct? Testers also write the code. DevOps engineers also write the code. So all these teams place their code into Git only. Clear? Developers modify this code, their code here. SRC. Palm.sml file. Search Palm.sml file is developers area. For example, this is a QA engineer, right? Testers. They also write a lot of code for automation testing, correct? So they also write a lot of code for testing, right? So they also place their code here. So you see some testing code in your repository. DevOps engineers also write a lot of code. DevOps engineers also write the code. They place the code in the repository. So that is the reason you see a lot of code here. See, these are all related to, DevOps. These are all related to DevOps. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, that's fine. So I have DevOps engineers code, developers code, blah blah, and so on. So when you clone a real-time project, you should not worry about the code. You should not try to understand the code. You should not try to understand the code. Okay. That's why I was spending all this things. Don't worry about the code. Just clone in a repository. What is our job? Build it. Maven install. ls target. See, the var file is there. You want to see the palm.sml file of this project? Any palm.sml file starts with project, ends with project. It will have GAV parameters, correct? Group ID, artifact ID, version number, GAV, and then packaging. See this? What package I'm creating here? Var. I'm creating var. And there is a dependencies. How many jars are there in this project? How many dependencies are there? 1, 2. Do we need to worry about these dependencies? No, right? It's developer's job, right? See, and we are getting the var file. So just type install, and then you get the var. That's how you build it. And then we deploy that var file into Tomcat server. Correct here, right? So let's deploy it. Copy gamut.var to /home/parallels. Tilde means user home. Okay, you can type /home/parallels, or you can just use this. That means user home. Under user home, there is the different distros, Apache Tomcat, web apps. Deployed. This is the warfare. Now start Tomcat server. Startup data set. You can access the application now. What is the var file name? Gamut cart. This is your Gamut cart application. If you take the the real projects, okay. If you take real projects, you will see login button and things like that. Think it as a kind of a Flipkart. Okay. You can buy apparels here, electronics, fashions, and so on. Kind of a real-time application, right? So that's how you build this. So what you will be doing in real time as a DevOps engineer? Clone the code, just type only one command, mvn install. That will compile, create the jar files, and finally var file, right? If there are any issues, for example, compilation errors, we talk to the developers, right? And things like that. And we get the var file and then we just blindly go and deploy it in the Tomcat server. That's what we do. Third step is deployment. And then testers or releasers come and then access the application. That's what we do. We are build and deployment engineers. We are build and release engineers. Gamut.var. Shall we set up Tomcat in a separate mission now? Okay, I'll also show this to you. So this is your build server. This is your build server, correct? This is your build server. This is your Tomcat server. Tomcat server. So this is where I have my code. So if I want to show this, I need two missions, correct? One for build, one for server. So I'm going to create a new mission now. I'm going to create a new mission. Don't worry about this command, okay? So remember, this is mission one, green color one, okay? This is the mission, build mission, my Linux mission, this one. This is my build mission. This is where I do the build. Once the build is done, I have to deploy it to a separate Tomcat server, right? So this is the Tomcat server mission 172.17.02. 172.17.02. That is this mission. This one. This is separate mission, okay? Think that this mission is somewhere in the world. That mission is somewhere in the world. This is 02. How did I create this mission? I created that mission using Docker. So you don't practice this now. Don't practice this now. Okay. This is just, I just want to show you. This is just for you to get the feel, how feel of, how a deployment, looks in a separate, server. If you have two missions, you can practice. I'm okay with that also. This is mission one, mission two. If you have two virtual missions, download the code in one mission, clone the code in one mission, build it, and then copy the var file in a separate Tomcat server. If you have two Linux machines, you can practice this. And you can create two virtual machines also. But if you create two, your your Windows machine may become slow. If you create two machines, your Windows machine may become slow. That is the reason I'm asking you not to practice this at the moment. Okay. After Maven, I will start Docker. After Maven, I will start Docker. With Docker, you can create multiple machines very easily. Once you know Docker, you can create multiple missions very easily. After Docker, you practice this. Okay. After Docker, you will be able to create multiple missions very easily. And practice this deployment into separate Tomcat server there. For now, just listen. Okay. For now, instead of doing this, you deploy the warfile in same missions Tomcat server in your mission Tomcat. Go on mute, Rajnish. So instead of deploying the warfile in a separate Tomcat server, copy the warfile in your local mission Tomcat server and then access it from the browser. That's how you practice. Okay, so if at all you have to deploy the warfile into separate Tomcat server, right? How do you deploy it? So this is my build mission, correct? I don't have anything here. Okay. I first clone the code. Git clone gamut cart 2 .git. Go to gamut cart. Okay. I build my application in this mission. ls target warfile is there. Now I have to deploy this warfile into this server. Shall we set up Tomcat here? Okay. Let's set up Tomcat. Okay. So how do you set up Tomcat from scratch? Now I am explaining setting up Tomcat server from scratch in a separate machine. Okay, as I said, for Tomcat, we need JDK, correct? So I'm going to install JDK first. apt get update. This machine is not connected to internet. Let me start it. So this is my build mission, okay? So this is where I have my code clone and then I build the warfare. This is my Tomcat server. Don't worry about how I am creating this mission, okay? Just listen. Don't worry about this command. Just remember that it's a separate machine, right? So I need to install JDK here, right? apt get update. Why JDK is required? Because Tomcat is developed in Java. To execute Tomcat, we need to have a JDK. So I'm installing JDK. apt get install. Open JDK -11 JDK. Take JDK 11, okay? So I'm installing JDK. Then I will install Tomcat. And if you have to copy the var file from this machine to this machine, you will have to connect to this machine, right? If you want to connect to this machine, you should have SSH installation here. SSH. So I'm going to install SSH also. Using SSH only, one machine can connect to another machine. And then we need to have a user also. If you want to connect to the remote machine, you need to have a user. Okay, so I'm going to create a user. In real time, if you are getting a mission, see, you need a server for deployment, correct? You need a server for deployment. So usually, there will be a team called IT team or Linux administration team. You just send one email to the team saying, okay, I need a mission. Please create a mission and give it to me. They will create the mission and then give it to you. Okay. If that mission has SSH, you don't need to install. Sometimes they create one user for you and they will give the user. You don't need to create a user. So user creation SSH is not mandatory. Okay. If it is already there in the mission, you don't need to do anything. Otherwise, you have to get the user and then install SSH. So what is main important here? JDK and Tomcat. So Asia 44. Java -version. Java is installed. Now I'm creating one user. Okay. I'm creating one user. Okay. User add. How do you get a user? User add, username. Create home directory for this user. MD make directory. home/vacancy home directory. When this user logins, this user will get a terminal with bash. Yes means shell. Bash shell. Set up the password. Passwd vacancy. Vacancy is the password. Vacancy is the password. So user is created. Okay, password is also set. Simple, right? Install JDK. Create one user, right? I go to that user. Probably I'll get some directory like distros. Distros. Here I'll download Tomcat. You can download anywhere, wherever you want. Download Tomcat. star.gz. Right click. Copy link. This wget command is not there, so I'm going to install it. Something, if some command is not there, we can go ahead and install, right? So in my mission, wget is not there, so I'm installing it. apt get install. wget. Okay, I'm downloading Tomcat star.gz. You know how to extract it, right? XVF. I'll just remove that. Once it is extracted, I just don't want to have that GZ file. Okay, I'm removing it. And then go to Apache Tomcat. web apps. This is where we can deploy, correct? Okay, done. So JDK is installed, Tomcat is installed, created the user also. Okay, now I'm going to install SSH. Install SSH. Yes. So once you install SSH, you have to start SSH server. Note on all the steps. Start server. Once you install SSH, you have to start SSH server. How do you start server? Service is the command. Service SSH status. Status will tell you the status. Not running. You have to start it. Start. Status. See this? Running. There is another command called restart. If you want to stop the server, stop also there. Start, stop, status. Stop. Status. Not running. If you want to restart also, you can do restart. Restart. Status. So basically, once SSH is installed, you have to start the server. Done. Now you can deploy your var file into Tomcat server. So you know how to set up a Tomcat server now, correct? What you have to do? Install JDK, create user, install Tomcat. Okay. Second step, third step, fourth step. Let's deploy the var file. Deployment means copying the var file into Tomcat server. Now, sorry, we have var file in one mission. We have var file in one mission. We want to copy this var file to this mission. Correct? So can somebody tell me the command using which I can copy the file from this mission to this mission?
Yeah, SCP.
SCP.
SCP file source file name.
Okay.
Username.
Remember everybody, if you want to copy a file from one mission to another mission, we use a command called SCP. Clear with this, everybody? You are learning a new command today. If you want to copy a file from one mission to another mission, what is the command we use? SCP. SCP dot var.
Username.
Yeah, SCP file name. What you want to copy? Where you want to copy?
Yes.
Where you want to copy? Username.
Faculty.
Faculty.
@ target IP address.
Target IP address. So name of this mission is 02. Sorry, IP address of this mission is 02.
Target path. Colon.
So faculty at the rate IP address. Okay. So remember this, everybody. SCP, what you want to copy, where you want to copy. Okay. Now you understand why we have created the user. There should be one user if you want to connect to this. So that's the reason I've created a user. Okay. So, okay, you're giving target missions IP address, but in this mission, where you want to copy? Path, correct? What's that? Colon?
Slash.
Yeah. Colon. In this mission, where you want to copy? I want to copy here. So wherever you want to copy, you can use that path. Path you have to give after colon. That's the syntax of SCP command. And remember, SCP has to connect to this mission and then copy, right? So SCP internally uses SSH. SCP internally uses SSH to connect to this mission. So once it connects to that mission using SSH, then it will copy the file. Enter. So this is something related to my mission, this error. Okay, don't worry about this. When you get this kind of error, you just copy paste this. There is something called the remove with. So you just need to copy paste this command. Don't worry too much about this. That's not related to deployment. Leave it. Okay, I'm again copying it. Okay. Yes. So you are copying the file from this machine to this machine, right? So it is asking for remote machine's password. T password. What it says? Permission denied. Just permission denied. Why it is giving that error? So you are copying the var file to this machine, right? Correct. So it is copying the file to web apps, correct? Let's see the permissions of the directory, lsfnld web apps. Who is the owner of this particular directory? Root. Root has read, write, execute permissions. Other users don't have write permissions. That is the reason you are unable to copy. You are copying the file as what user? T, right? So only root user, root is the owner of the directory. Whatever you see, this guy is the owner, correct? Root. And first three characters, D means directory. These three characters represent root's permissions. Root can read, write, execute, but other users cannot write. So that is the reason it says permission denied. It is giving you permission denied error. So let us change the permissions of directory. How do you change the permission of a directory?
CH mode.
CH mode 777. 7 means read, write, execute. 4 plus 2 plus 1. 4 means read. Read, write. 2 means write. 1 means execute. 4 plus 2 plus 1. Read, write, execute for owner. Read, write, execute for group. Read, write, execute for others. In basic Linux command session, I explained this permissions. Okay. So we can give permission to only web apps directly, but I'm giving to no complete folder. So -r. R means recursive. R means what? Recursive. That means to this directory plus all subdirectories. Go to Apache Tomcat. Go to web apps. Now let's try to copy. I'm copying the var file from this mission to this mission. Remote mission's password. Copied 100%. See here. Where is that?
Sir, copy to Tomcat directory.
/ web apps, correct? Okay, copied. Okay, so that's how you deploy the var file. That's how you copy the file from one mission to another mission. Any questions you have so far? Now let's start Tomcat server. Startup data. Tomcat server is running. This is the IP address of this mission, right? Now I'm opening the browser. Where is Tomcat server running? 172.17.02. Tomcat server by default runs at 8080 port. I'll explain about port later. And var file name is this. Clear? See? That's how you deploy the var file into a separate Tomcat server. So if you have two missions, you can try to practice this. build the warfile in one mission, deploy the warfile into another mission. So you will learn that SCP command there, and then setting up the Tomcat server from. If you don't have two missions, okay, then install Tomcat in the same mission, deploy it, and then access it in the browser locally. And you can practice this later after a couple of Docker classes. So that's how you build and deploy Gamut card. Okay, see this steps. Clone the code. Okay, this is the repository URL, Gamut card 2. Build it. Make sure that var file is generated. Make sure that JDK11 is there. JDK11 is required, right? Install Tomcat. Copy or deploy the var file into Tomcat server. Go to Tomcat server, bin, start the server, and then you can access the application using this local host port 8080/Gamut card. This is the local deployment. Okay, if you are deploying the code into the same Tomcat missions, same Tomcat server. This is the URL IP:8080/Gamut card. In next class, I'll explain about this URL and few more things. Hardly takes maybe 15-20 minutes or 10 minutes. Say 15-20 minutes. After that, we'll start Docker in next class. So you all have to practice this project, okay? Because our entire course is depending on this project, Gamut card. So you have to practice this. If you don't practice this Gamut card, build and deployment, you don't understand things. So this is very important. Practice it. That's all I have for myself today. Any questions?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Is both the front and back end deployed in the same server?
I'm talking about only the backend. Sorry, front end here. So I'm not deploying backend. I have a separate project called Guestbook. There I will show you how to deploy the backend things, database. Okay, sure.
Okay.
We'll discuss that in Kubernetes class.
Okay.
This is only the front end. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Rajnesh.
Like a day before yesterday's and last week's class are still not uploaded.
I'll get it uploaded tomorrow. I
Yes.
did not get time to download it. I think I should have in my mission.
Yes.
I'll pass it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.